It's been about a week since Matt Reeves' latest film, The Batman, came to theaters and we got to gaze upon its glory. I know to the nerds who went day one, it's been a week, we can talk spoilers, which is what we're gonna do, but I'm initiating a spoiler warning for people who have not seen the film. I will direct you to my movie review that is completely spoiler free that I posted last week. You can go check that out if you just want to hear a little bit of tidbits of stuff that happens. Then come back here after you've seen the film or you just don't care about spoilers, because we're about to get nitty gritty deep in the Bat spoilers, so stay tuned. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Hez Project. I'm John Rodalaza, and today we're talking spoilers. It's a full spoiler talk for The Batman, the brand new film directed by Matt Reeves and starring Robert BATtinson. Let's talk about it. Like I say, guys, last spoiler warning. 3, 2, 1. This has restored the Snyderverse. Yep, in the first 30 minutes of the film, Ben Affleck comes in, brutally murders Robert BATtinson, and it becomes Ben Affleck's solo film, like the original one that he directed, or he was going to direct and star in, but then Matt Reeves came in and then changed things up. Apparently, there was a big fight behind cameras, behind closed doors, with Matt Reeves and Ben Affleck, and ultimately Ben Affleck came out on top. He finished directing the film, starring in the rest of it, and now we're getting Justice League Part 2. I bet there's probably a Snyderverse fan out there who just heard me say that and who hasn't seen the Batman yet, and they're like, yeah, I believe that. This one, man, dude, it had a lot of good stuff going for it. I'm still thinking about it, and to be honest, I've been trying to find time to listen to the entire soundtrack. I got about maybe halfway through, or maybe a third of the way through of the soundtrack. I love it, man. It's different. It's not this uplifting stuff, obviously, because Batman doesn't represent the same thing as Superman. We'll get into that in a little bit towards the end probably, but I really like the tone of the soundtrack, and it does match the tone of the film and the overall, like, all the scenes and whatnot, but it just does something to the film. It adds this extra layer of depth and I don't know, just darkness. I really dig Michael Giacchino's sound, and I apologize if I've said his name incorrectly in the past. I'm too lazy to look back, but I'm just from memory, I feel like I've been saying Michael Giacchino. Anyways, Michael Giacchino, he is a great composer, dude. He composed the Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes films that Matt Reeves directed, Tom Holland's Spider-Man trilogy directed by John Watts, and the first Doctor Strange. I'm pretty sure he might be doing the new one in the Multiverse of Madness, but I've listened to a few of those scores, like the ones I just listed off, and they're very different. Now, a lot of composers will have a signature style to them. Like, I can kind of probably pick apart where, like, Hans Zimmer's scoring stuff, you know? But Michael Giacchino, dude, like, he's masterful at it. I'm not saying he's better than Hans Zimmer right now. I'm not saying that, but I like how he can bring a different vibe to a score that's for a film like The Batman as opposed to a score for Spider-Man. The Batman is like the most different thing we've gotten from DC in a while. Probably from the Joker, but before that, then really nothing. But it's more along the lines of the Joker in terms of how real it is and how down to earth they make their characters and where they set them in the world. And dude, the world in here, dude, Gotham is awesome, man. It really feels like a character, but a character that's struggling and really just down in the gutters. And you get a good picture of that when you see Batman teaming up with Lieutenant Gordon. They're going back and forth to different apartments, different places, solving puzzles. I mean, there's a joke about a thumb drive with a cut off, severed thumb connected to a USB drive. Like, that's funny. I thought that was funny. But I really dug that aspect of the film, man. And that's the part that kind of had me slightly worried, because it's different, man. Like, the emphasis that they put on the relationship between Gordon and Batman in the trailer, it felt that they were going to focus heavily on that relationship more than the Nolan films ever did. And I don't remember exactly how I felt about it, but it wasn't like the one thing I was clamoring for is like to see these two together working side by side and have it be as good or if not better than Gary Oldman and Christian Bale's, you know, duo and whatnot. But they did do better, I think. Now, that's not to say that Jeffrey Wright and Robert Pattinson are better performers in the roles than Gary Oldman and Christian Bale. That's not what I'm saying. Their on-screen relationship between the characters has been more fleshed out. That like half of this film is Gordon and Batman teaming up together, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's the most engaging parts of the film. Now I want to hop over to Paul Dano real quick before I forget him. Like, I like the Riddler in here, infinitely better than Jim Carrey's. I love Jim Carrey, but what the hell? They went a different route, like different. They went dark with this Riddler, and Paul Dano, I think he pulls it off. He really does pull it off. And he does steal a couple scenes towards the end, though. Like, after he's given himself up to the cops, and he's safe and sound inside his prison cell, his plan has been executed. Now, yeah, Batman and Gordon have been solving the puzzle and the riddles little by little throughout the film, but they never quite solved it. And they fail. Like, Riddler comes out on top while he's in prison. He outsmarted the Batman ultimately, and that's another thing that I want to dive into. I know I'm all over the place. That's the nature of the spoiler talk, so bear with me. The Batman is in year 2, and I know a lot of people have issues. Maybe I've heard that, this is not Batman. He doesn't feel like Batman. He's not as smart. He would have done this better. It's because they're taking Batman, the idea of Batman, from comics where he's already this established person. He's already the world's greatest detective, and there's no denying it. This dude, like, he's good, but he's not solving the right away. Like, yeah, he was thinking of the answers before I was able to even process the question, but they failed in the end. They did not come out on top against the Riddler. The Riddler turned himself in and still won. I know a lot of people have been drawing comparisons to Batman in this film, talking to the Riddler while he's in the prison, and it's Paul Dano. He's doing his monologue, and it's really good. It is, but this is not really an interrogation scene, really. It's like an unraveling, and it never felt like it was like trying to achieve the same thing as Batman and interrogating the Joker in The Dark Knight. Like, those are not the same scenes, really. With that being said, I'm still gonna compare the two. Now, in the scene where Batman's interrogating the Joker, he's seeking out information because his love interest is missing. The DA is missing, and the Joker knows why. And in that scene, both Heath Ledger and Christian Bale are elevated. Their performances were already amazing before that scene, but both of them are slowly elevating each other in that scene. But in The Batman, where Riddler is just pacing around, it's Paul Dano elevating himself. Like, he's really good in that scene. Robert Pattinson's Batman in this whole movie, and this is no slight to him, he's a man of few words. He does not say or express himself to any degree like the other Batmans have in previous years, which is kind of plays into why we don't have a Bruce Wayne in here. And I had mentioned in my non-spoiler review that it's kind of like the Batman persona has taken over his being. Like, it's become his number one persona to the point where he doesn't know how to fake it for the public eye. Some people might say he has yet to master how to conceal his true identity, which is the Batman, a vengeance, He's just brutal throughout the whole movie, and that's the appeal about it, though. That's what I love about this movie, because it's different. It's a film adaptation first. It's very different from what we've gotten before, and I love it, dude. Now, I want to talk about Colin Farrell's Penguin, but I feel like I interrupted myself twice to say something, and then I forgot what I was really going to say, so I feel like I'm never going to say it ever again. Anyways, Colin Farrell's Penguin is really good in here, man. He's not the main villain. Like, we kind of knew that going into it, that the Riddler was being positioned as the main villain, but still, like, Penguin's good. Colin Farrell is amazing in this role, dude. He loses himself in here with the makeup. Didn't even know it was him. Obviously, we did. I knew of it beforehand, and we saw the pictures, and I'm like, what? That's him? But if I didn't know ahead of time watching this film for the first time, I would have known. None of you would have known. The Penguin in here is involved with Carmine Falcone, or however they decide to pronounce it this time. There's so many things in the Batman where they don't know how to pronounce things. Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul, Falcone, whatever. Somewhere towards the end of the film, it's revealed that Selina Kyle is the daughter of Carmine Falcone, and that's ultimately why she wants to kill him, because he tortured her and her mother. And I guess I didn't really care too much for that, but man, like, I don't know, something about Zoe Kravitz, she made me care about everything she was doing on screen. I ultimately just didn't really care too much for Carmine Falcone. Like, he's played by John Turturro. I guess he's a good actor, sure, but I just don't care about that character. I never really cared too much about the mob bosses and whatnot. Like, they touched upon it a lot in the Gotham show, and I watched, like, what, 2-3 seasons of that before I dipped. Yeah, like, I guess they're interesting a little bit, but not really. Anyways, going back to the Riddler's plan. That was one thing that I almost forgot about. Anyways, the Riddler's plan. I'm going to say it before I forget. Anyways, the Riddler's plan. It was to flood Gotham, I guess. Again, I'll have to watch this movie a second time, but I just didn't see that coming. And I'm not saying it's because it's like a good swerve or anything. I just didn't see the movie ending this way. It's not bad by any means, but from the tone of the first and the second act of the film, like, I just didn't expect it to go such a comic booky route, I guess. There's nothing wrong with it, but flatter. Riddler had strategically and conveniently placed these bombs across like the sea lines of the city to blow up at the exact same time, so the Gotham Harbor or whatever it's called, the Gotham River can just rush the waters right into the city, filling up the streets, and people were evacuating left and right, and they send a giant group of people into the Gotham Square Garden, which is like Madison Square Garden, so kind of confirms that this iteration of Gotham City is a replica of like New York City, which I think in the Dark Knight trilogy it was Detroit, right? Anyways, the Gotham Square Garden is where the third act takes place, and essentially we get a bunch of Riddler doubles that are in the rafters of Gotham Square Garden with their snipers out, ready to take out everybody that just got evacuated and pulled into the building. They're gonna take them all out. Batman hears about this, learns the plan, learns what the final riddle was or whatever, crashes into the building from the glass ceiling and starts tearing house, dude, and ripping people to shreds. This Batman is so epic, dude. He's so violent and visceral, and I feel it, dude. I love how they filmed all of these action scenes. There's maybe like a hint of CGI with some of these scenes. For the most part, it's very like, it's not visible to me. I don't have a great eye for CGI sometimes, but I've noticed it just maybe like for like 1 second in this movie. Like there was one shot where he moved a little too like smoothly, and I was like, yeah. Batman starts targeting the final Riddler clone, and he punches him. He interjects this venom. He pulls out this bright green ooze in a needle, just shoots it up in his leg, and he starts pounding on the dude's face. And I thought, oh, this dude's head's gonna explode. Oh my god. Freaking Jim Gordon had to pull him off, and Selena Kyle was there as well. And the guy pulls his mask off. Like, he's fine, but he's all like bruised up and stuff. And they're like, who are you? And the guy just looks up at Batman and he says, I'm vengeance. And then it calls back to the first scene that we see the Batman in the beginning of this film, where he says, I am the shadows. And it's a gang that we're following, and they look into the dark alley that's right in front of them, and out comes the Batman emerging from the shadows, beats the piss out of the one dude who gets an inch close to him, and he says, I'm vengeance. He's inflicting the most fear into these thugs and criminals of the city. And this is what I really love about this iteration of the Batman. He's figuring things out. I love when we get to follow along a character who doesn't exactly have it all figured out. Like, every character is flawed. As humans, we're flawed. Having a flawed character just makes it more relatable to me. Obviously, I don't really relate to this character of Bruce Wayne Batman. My parents were murdered in an alley, and I don't have emo, vicious tendencies to dress up like a bat in the middle of the night and beat the out of thugs. I don't relate to that, but I relate to not having... But I relate to not having everything in my life and in my experience all figured out. And that's the beauty of Robert Pattinson's performance in this film, and just the writing of his character and this iteration of the Caped Crusader. And some people might think that the ending of this film is semi-anticlimactic to a degree. I definitely did, and when I first watched it, but as I'm slowly just watching the rest of the film until the very end when the credits hit, it hit me, dude. Like, I understood what they were going for and what the message was. The Batman realizes that he can't just embrace the vengeance persona, you know? He can't just be that. He can't be the thing that the bad guys fear and leave nothing for the good people of Gotham. He's got to be a symbol of hope to them to a degree. He doesn't have to dress in red, white, and blue, or red, yellow, and blue. I mean, like my boy Clark Kent over here, but he needs to change something, because ultimately he's the one who influenced that final Riddler clone. Yeah, he was a Riddler clone. He was dressed up like the Riddler. He was a Riddler follower, but no, he was definitely like influenced to a degree by the Batman. I just thought that was kind of powerful a little bit. You know, this iteration of Batman Bruce Wayne has been completely consumed by the Batman persona. I think in future installments we will see the Batman form this Bruce Wayne persona that we're more familiar with, and not only will we see him continue to push the vengeful fear of God amongst the hearts of all of these crime bosses and whatnot, we will see the Batman find a balance of being that vengeful person while also being this watchful protector over the people of Gotham. By the way, before I end this video, I gotta mention that Batmobile entrance is amazing. It's amazing. The whole car chase was amazing, and you're a bad person if you don't think otherwise. Anyways, guys, that's the spoiler talk for The Batman. If you have not seen it yet and have made it to the end of the video, why'd you do that? Just go watch it. It's in theaters. Anyways, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Be sure to stick around because, like I always say, there is more to come.